So one of the more common questions we get asked when people start training with us is, what is good progress? They want to know, how much weight should I be expecting to see change on the scale from a week-to-week basis? And that's really going to depend on three things. Number one is your starting point. If you're a larger person, whether you're male or female, you might expect anywhere from 1 to 2 pounds of weight loss per week. But if you're smaller, you're already leaner, anywhere from 1/4 of a pound to a 1/2 a pound for females, or a 1/2 a pound to a pound a week for males, is what we could be looking for in terms of a good amount of progress. Next is going to be, are we focused on just fat loss, or are we focused on the scale weight? Depending on your training history, what your goals are, you might not see the actual scale change those numbers that I went over on a week-to-week basis, but things might be moving around in terms of how much actual pounds of body fat and or muscle that you have. So it's important to have some other measures for progress as well, such as progress pictures, or if you can get a DEXA scan or an InBody as well. A DEXA or an InBody is going to be a good way to measure your actual body composition to see how much of your weight is coming from water, from muscle, or from fat. So for example, over a course of 6 weeks, if you add a pound or two of muscle and lose a pound or two of fat, the weight on the scale is going to be exactly the same. Now, with that said, that is not an excuse for someone who is severely overweight to think that the scale shouldn't be changing on a weekly basis. If you have a good amount of weight to lose, it's safe to say that you should be seeing things move on a weekly basis if you're lining things up right with your training and nutrition. And lastly, and most importantly, is going to be your willingness to change. If you're someone who works a crazy job and you commute a ton and you are just 12, 14-hour days and you're only going to be able to sneak in 2 or 3 workouts and you're still going to have to manage a ton of business meetings, then you have to take that lifestyle into account and give yourself a little bit of grace and understand that while you can still make progress, it just might be slower than someone who for the next 8 weeks has the ability to focus on nothing else but their training. So long story short, if you're hitting anywhere from 1/4 of a pound to 1 pound of fat loss per week, that is phenomenal progress. And a lot of times people will get frustrated with that in the beginning. They come in and they do a check-in and they feel like, man, I did all this work and I only lost a 1/2 a pound. But what we repeat to them over and over and over again is, okay, show up and do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. Because if you can lose a 1/2 a pound a week, most people are looking at over 20 pounds of fat loss in a year. And most people will overestimate what they can do in 2 weeks and will completely underestimate what they can do over the course of a year. So use that as a guideline next time you're trying to measure your results and see, am I hitting 1/4 of a pound to a pound of fat loss per week?